Hey everyone, I'm Cahlen, and in this video I want to talk to you about the top biohacks which have had the biggest influence on my life. And they've had a giant influence on my life. They've drastically changed my life, right? I wouldn't be doing this right now had I not first got into biohacking. So biohacking is basically kind of becoming your own doctor, except it's not just focused on preventing illness or recovering from injury. It's focused on going beyond, right, because that's all focused on kind of bringing you back to normal. But normal for humanity right now is actually way, way, way below actual human potential, right? The human normal actually should be well above where most people are right now. And so biohacking is about, okay, not just fixing and getting back to the current normal, which is really pitiful actually, and going well beyond that and unlocking the ability of your body, of your mind, and even of your spirit, right? So it's kind of all encompassing. So anyways, we'll talk about some of the biggest ones that have helped me, and I suspect they will help you. So the first one is going to be male specific, but I will talk a little bit about the female aspect, which you could do differently if you're a female. And that is semen retention. So ejaculating is hugely, hugely, hugely costly to your body, not just in terms of nutrients that you're giving up. These are the most important nutrients, right? This is, in terms of biology and evolution, right? This is where your body is going to prioritize, right? This is where it's going to put everything good. So you're just shooting that out every day. That's highly, for your body, uses all the food and all the stuff that you intake to create blood, and that's a very important process, and blood is very special. And then it takes the blood and refines it even more to make the semen, and so you're basically just giving up that hugely valuable thing. And it's not just a physical, biological thing, it's also an energetic thing, and really that may even be the larger aspect. So you're going to lose all of your motivation. You're going to lose your like zest, the energy and the excitement and the motivation for doing what you want to do. You're going to hurt your immune system. You're going to become more feminine and what's the word for that? Androgynous. You may even start to get confused about what your sexuality is, right? Especially if you're using porn and things like this. You're going to go to the extremes of what's normal, the heterosexual porn, and then you're going to start looking at other areas to see if you can get that dopamine hit from other stuff, and then you're going to start exploring all kinds of other stuff. So now you're going to start thinking that maybe you're gay or you're transsexual or something like that, right? You can go to an extreme and really fuck up your brain, right? So And what are you doing this for? You're doing this for a couple of seconds of a nice feeling, right? And so if you want to see how that it's just totally not worth it. Even if there weren't any of the downside, it's totally not worth it because of what you don't get, right? Go a week, go several weeks without ejaculating, and you're going to feel so much better. And it's going to be, for me, it was a situation where I would see how much better I felt, and that's what made me not want to continue to be addicted to orgasm, that type of male orgasm. And because it's just not worth it, because you see it, it's so obvious after a while that for multiple days after doing that, I would feel way worse. I would feel grumpy, I would feel tired, I would feel less able to do what I needed to do. But when it's been a long period of time where I haven't done that, I have huge amounts of energy. I feel really excited. I feel like I have a grin on my face no matter what's happening. And also I feel really confident. And if you're someone who's trying to find a female mate at the moment, confidence is what's really attractive to them. And also you're going to be really motivated to go out there and look for a woman. Basically, that's kind of the secret to finding a woman is, don't get rid of all the magic juice, which makes you good at it. So anyways, that has enhanced every aspect of my life. And I would say, it's really sad the way humanity is at the moment, men and porn and all of this type of stuff. And that's on purpose. That's not an accident, right? our society has been set up in this way to say, doctors say, oh, you can ejaculate as much as you want, or and the culture says, oh, you can watch as much porn as you want, it's fine. That it's like a giant sabotage. It's like someone hacked into humanity and made it pathetic and easy to destroy, right? It makes us weak, right? Even against outside hostile forces. The fact that most of humanity thinks that ejaculation and porn and things like that are fine and normal, and they're definitely not. So anyways, that's a really big one. I said I would talk about the women. Women, let's kind of do two different types of orgasms. Actually, this applies to men too, but we'll talk about it in terms of women. Certain types of orgasms are actually life-giving, energy-giving, and this is generally thought of as female-type orgasms, G-spot type orgasms. So having lots of those type of orgasms are going to boost a woman's world in kind of a similar way to what I'm talking about. This is also possible for men through prostate, right? And also women have the correlation, the same type of similar situation. So the men have the ejaculatory orgasm, which is draining. It depletes you of life. The female has the clitoris orgasm, which is the same thing, right? The clitoris is basically a tiny penis. So anyways, there's all that information. I know that's probably weird or uncomfortable for a lot of people, but it's really valuable and it's true. So I'd say put that stuff into effect and you're going to see a big change in your life. So anyway, so there's one. It's probably not number one. I would say number one is probably the sun. Right? The sun is really the most important biohack, and so for me, getting as much sun as I can, depending on the weather. It's really cold right now, so I'm wearing a bunch of clothes, so I'm not getting as much sun as I normally would, but I am outside all of the time, and when it is warm enough, I'm generally wearing as little clothes as possible for as long as possible, up to the point that I am going to burn. You don't want to burn, because that's when it starts to get bad. But you do want to get a lot of sun, right? And this is another societal, purposeful, infiltration of humanity. This whole, idea that, oh, people, you should avoid the sun. Get as little sun as possible, Protect your skin. Put all this poison sunscreen on your skin, which is actually causing cancer, right? Put all this poison on your skin and let it absorb into your body, right? Anything that you put on your skin is like eating it. You don't put something on your skin you wouldn't eat. Would you eat suntan lotion? No. Don't put it on your skin, okay? So, where was I? Anyway, so basically, get as much sun as possible, but of course, you don't want to take it so far. Same goes for getting it in your eyes. It's really valuable to get sunlight in your eyes. Sun gazing is actually a really powerful practice. You want to do it earlier in the day or really late in the day when you're getting less of the UV. But again, it's true that you wouldn't want to look into the sun too much, just like you're not going to want to be in the sun with your skin too much to the point where you're damaging it. But what our society believes is damaging is far below what it actually is. And actually, you need this. The sun is the main source of life and energy on this planet. Almost every form of energy which we use can be seen as ultimately have come from the sun. All the food that we eat, the energy that it used to make itself, the plants, the animals, all this type of stuff, that all came from the sun, right? Eating the coconut butter that I eat that comes from a coconut is it's like condensed sunlight, and that's what I'm eating. It's been formed in all kinds of different really helpful elements. So anyways, getting lots of sun. Don't wear sunglasses, right? Unless you're on a body of water, right, where the sun's reflecting back up and you're getting double or even more type sunlight into your eyes, then you may want sunglasses. Or you're on a boat or on ice or snow, then you maybe want sunglasses. Other than that, sunglasses are a really bad idea. They're not good for your health, right? You need these signalings, and the sunlight is really important for even just the biorhythm of your body, right? So when you wake up, you want to get light into your eye and on your skin, because your body's, of course, naturally, that's how it knows when it's daytime and when it's time to get ready to have a day of activity. And so if you're not doing that, then your body's just kind of confused. So anyways, what I used to do for the light when I lived in society and had access to electricity and stuff like that is I would get a 250 watt halogen. Halogen is important. You don't want LED. It's this one frequency. You want the full spectrum of light. So halogen. And 250 watts is what I use. It's like a work lamp. You can get this at like a Home Depot or any hardware store for fairly cheap. And I would just stand in front of it, right, and make sure I was in a place that was warm, so I'd have a fireplace going, or I'd have a heater blowing on me, or something like that. It's a really important element. You want to have the heat and the full spectrum light. Both of those are, because heat is light, right? It's just lower down, below eyesight level. So anyways, and I would do my meditation. So in a previous video, I talked about meditation where I would have I do Qigong, right? This is always in the light. But the sun is really the most natural and readily available version of that. And so it's going to have the best benefits, and it's going to be free, right? You don't have to pay rent or an electricity bill or have all these tools. The sun, it's just there, right? And so also, if you're like me and you pick where you live, based on how much sunlight there is every day, then I live in New Mexico. Most days are sunny, and even though it does get cold in the winter, it doesn't matter because the sun's going to come out and warm everything up. So anyways, light hacking, definitely look into light hacking, and sunlight specifically is really important. Of course, like anything, you just don't want to overdo it, but what they tell you is overdoing it is actually barely even getting started. So okay, so I talked about no-fap basically, then I talked about light, food, and basically what you put into your body is a giant topic, but it is hugely important, and it's going to be individual to you. So your individual situation is going to be different depending on what your current diet is, probably what your genetics are and this type of thing. So you kind of have to figure out what the baseline healthy diet is and then start experimenting with different things to see how they affect you. So like some people, nightshades are generally bad news for a lot of people, but it affects everyone differently. So you may be able to eat an infinite amount of potatoes with no downsides from the I think lectins, is it lectins, that are in the nightshade of a potato. But another person can eat that and they'll be sore for a few days, like me. So you have to figure all these things out. But basically, a really good starting point is to look up something called the Bulletproof Diet. And it basically, you can download a PDF, which is a very easy way of understanding what are the really good, safe, healthy foods, which if you stay at the top, the pure level of all these good things, you're going to be doing good pretty much no matter what your situation is. And then you can kind of get an understanding of the foods that are kind of like less safe. And then at the bottom of the list is stuff that you should just totally avoid all the time. So that diet's it is a carnivore. That's a kind of a ketogenic carnivore diet. And I've adapted it to myself over time to be basically what I call mostly vegan. So I follow that diet even still, right? Ever since I got on that diet, I haven't really deviated from it, except that I've changed it to be mostly vegan. So that's what I recommend in terms of food. Understand the Bulletproof Diet, get that PDF, and also check out Dave Asprey's podcast, Bulletproof Radio. He talks about this stuff a lot. Then there's supplements. It's kind of like food, making sure you're getting the nutrients you need. Of course, you can get a lot of the nutrients you need from the food that you eat. So if you're eating the right food, you don't have to worry about vitamins and minerals and stuff like that. But there are things which are going to bring you above level, right? So there's herbs, right? Rhodiola for me is a really big, powerful one. I've been talking about that a lot lately. The racetams, piracetam, aniracetam, phenylpiracetam. I focus on those last two, but those are very safe, very well researched, and very powerful. And also you may want to take them with a choline source or maybe acetyl L-carnitine. These are things that you have to practice with. This will boost you hugely just by itself. There's something that's called Ciltep, Ciltep, which was like an open source developed natural supplement, which I used to take every day. I haven't taken it for a long time, but it's just because it's kind of a little bit expensive. But that was hugely powerful for me when I was a producer in the video game industry for a long time. It boosted my performance a lot. And then there's also the extremes, and I've talked this a little bit. There's things like modafinil, which is a pharmaceutical, which is extremely powerful and fairly safe for most people. For some people, it's not. So, of course, you have to be really careful. But, yeah, you can bring yourself from baseline to very, very high up very easily and within a matter of minutes, by taking the right supplements. So, and that includes things like, maybe even microdosing on psychedelics like psilocybin, This is not. I don't have a whole lot of experience with many of the psychedelics. I pretty much have just stuck to cannabis, and that's kind of the big one. That's kind of where I started on my biohacking community. So cannabis, it kind of snapped me out of, like, you grow up in a certain mindset, in a certain family, in a certain community, and you have a certain way of looking at the world. And that was kind of all placed on you. You weren't, as a young child, that wasn't the way you were. There's kind of a more natural state of yourself, which had something kind of superimposed upon it. And when I was like, I don't know, 18 or 19, I started smoking cannabis, and it basically snapped me out of that instantly. And it was such. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that. So anyways, that is something which has been hugely beneficial for me. I still use that, I would say almost daily. It's not something that I use as heavily as I used to, and really I only take very, very tiny amounts. So I'll smoke, and you can get something called Delta 8 THC. So normal THC from cannabis is Delta 9, but Delta 8 comes from hemp, I think, and then they take the CBD and they process it in a certain way until it turns it into Delta 8 THC, and anyways, you can buy that. That's legal. You can buy that online and order it, and it's almost as good. So you get something like this, right? A little pin, which I can charge with my solar panel, right? So that's why I have this. And I'll take a short little puff of this thing at the lowest heat setting, and once a day, and that's all I'll do, right? In the beginning of the day, it like tunes my mind to a certain place, a good feeling, high functionality. I stick to kind of sativa, and basically that tuning myself in the beginning of the day lasts throughout the entire day. Being high, in quotes, is going to last an hour and a half, something like that. But that high functioning state, that clean, pure, happy feeling, for me, will last the entire day, especially if I'm doing it with like my qigong meditation, right? That's probably the last thing I should talk about here is the morning routine, right? That's really, I think I've said this for every single one. This is really the big one, but they're all really important. But the morning routine is also a really important thing, right? Getting light. So you're waking your body up. Hey, body, it's time to go. We're getting ready to go. We're going to have a big, long day of lots of energy and lots of focus and lots of good feelings. And so then for me, the THC, for other people, like coffee is a good way to get them into that too. Everyone's different, right? And a lot of people, I haven't met a lot of people who have a similar experience with THC. That's very specific to me. It might be that way for you, but you'd have to actually try it out. And then also, so combining light, body meditation with THC and good supplements in the morning to get my mind in the right space, and then that's just going to last the rest of the day without me having to put any effort into it. So morning routine is a really big deal, and the morning routine should be something that you actually wake up and you're like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm so excited to go do that. And that's the way it is for me. So everyone's going to have a different morning routine, but that's basically what mine is. It's a little different here in the winter. I go for walks now because it's too cold to stand still in the sun, even with clothes on. But as the weather warms up, then of course, as soon as the sun rises, I'll be taking my clothes off and I'll be standing naked in the sun doing my meditation with THC supplements and tuning myself for the day. So anyways, those are kind of the main biohacks that have made the biggest impact on my life. If humanity as a collective really got on board with coming above what everyone thinks is normal, which is a pitiful, sick, depressed state of being, that's what normal is for humanity right now, and say, no, we can do more than this. We can feel really good. We can be really capable. We can have huge amounts of energy. We can have really close, loving, trusting relationships with people. And we can have abundance in our lives. And biohacking is like a critical element to this. And hardly anyone even knows anything about it, right? Most people are still in the mindset that they think doctors know something. Doctors don't know anything. Doctors are fucking idiots. Now, of course, it's an extreme statement. There's some doctors and many doctors, that I still talk to and get advice from who do understand these types of things. But almost all doctors are just brainwashed idiots who are big drug pushers who they became a doctor because they were pressured by their parents or society and they just wanted to make money, right? Doctors, dentists, all these professionals that we call experts are idiots. They are destroying humanity, and if you want to avoid that trap, then you got to take responsibility for yourself. Or you could find someone who really knows about this stuff and pay them to be your doctor, and I have done that in the past, and that can be beneficial. But ultimately, no one's going to pay the amount of attention necessary for you to get where you can be. That requires a certain amount of focus and energy and intention, and no matter how much you pay someone, no one's going to be able to do that, and no one's going to be motivated to do that as much as you are. So it's got to be you, right? If you're really going to get to these places, you got to be the one who's taking yourself there. That means you got to learn these things. You got to do all the experiments on yourself to see what works for you, and it's totally worth it. And you can prove to yourself that you're going to see effects very quickly for men, doing the basically don't ejaculate, knock that shit off, you're destroying yourself, and you'll see a big difference. And then, by the way, you could add an extra element. So, I'm forgetting his name. Limitless Jonathan Roseland, who I interviewed recently on the podcast, he said in that podcast that advice that he gives to young people is say, okay, go no fap, no porn, no ejaculating for a few weeks, and then go salsa dancing and see how you feel about your life, right? And going and dancing, right, being around women while you're in this state of high confidence and high arousal and high excitement for life, and then being around women who are going to be super attracted to that and you being super attracted to them, that'll change your life by itself. And then also you can get some really safe supplements, right? Like I said, rhodiola, very safe, very well tested, been used for thousands of years. You can notice a difference with that. And the racetams, I recommend aniracetam and phenylpiracetam. And if you can get it, it's Siltep, but they don't call it Siltep anymore. It's like Neurostack or something like that. Basically just search Siltep, Ciltep, and then whatever they call it now, or you can just make it yourself. It's an open source supplement, so you can get all the pieces yourself and make it. Those things, if you take those things, you'll see effects that day, and so you can prove to yourself that it's possible to be way more highly functioning than you normally are, right? The diet may take a few days or weeks before you start to see a difference, and if you want to take a little bit of a risk and you want to see it for sure, almost for sure, then modafinil or armodafinil, if you can get your hands on that. I wouldn't take a whole pill, man. It's like complete overload. Take like a quarter of a pill or half of a pill. Just give yourself a taste of what is possible for yourself, and then know that you can get to the point where you don't even need that anymore, right? So, like for example, Dave Asprey, he took modafinil for years, and then he got to the point where his body had tuned to that, and he didn't need it anymore. And taking it made no difference. He was just like that every single day. And so that is possible for you, right? You don't need to live in this miserable state of being, which is what humanity calls normal. So anyways, that's my rundown on biohacking, how it's helped me, and how it might be able to help you. So I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please consider sharing it. If you'd like to help me out in a more substantial way, you can learn how to do so at cahlen.org/gift. And if you'd like to have a one-on-one conversation with me, whether publicly or privately, you can learn how to do so at cahlen.org/one-on-one. Thanks again for watching.